can we help the United States decline gracefully as an empire?
I thought Steve should answer this because he's British and they know all about declining gracefully as an empire.
Britain did decline fairly gracefully as an empire, although there was an inevitability about the end of empire for a number of reasons, one of which was that the country was broke, it could no longer afford it. But there's a great quote from A.J.P. Taylor where he says, the object of being a great power is the ability to fight a great war. The way to remain a great power is not to fight one. And
would you say that Britain didn't borrow itself into financial ruin as America has done today?
During World War II it did, of necessity. It just didn't have the resources to fight that war.
Necessity being national defense.
I think
what would have happened in the worst picture?
Well, it wasn't just a national defence. It was a defence of the future of Europe. In many ways. It was, and it was really. You know, I mean, you can't compare Saddam Hussein to Adolf Hitler. Let me tell you that some in the present administration have done just that and continue to do just that.
But I mean, what would have happened if perhaps Britain had not taken the loans from the United States and had ended up either temporarily or for a long period of time occupied by Germany? It wouldn't have been the end of the world, right? It would have been a dark period for sure in British history.
Britain would have been. Britain may even have been better off. You know, Britain was one of the favoured nations. It was one of the purer nations, and for most of the British population, I think National Socialism could well have produced better living circumstances. At the time, we're talking about 1930s and 40s.
For a homogenous white society
exactly.
In the structure of the Nazi.
Yeah, not too many gypsies around.
Right.
You know, the Jews could have been dealt with fairly efficiently as well. But interestingly enough, from the outset, the British did oppose that, and the dockers, the dog workers' union, came out and put down the black shirts.
So it would have been the end of your empire anyway, because you would have become part of somebody else's empire.
We would have become part of somebody else's empire, yeah.
So basically it was go with the dark side and lose your empire, or leverage yourself financially and lose your empire.
Right. Do
it yourself or have it done to you.
Although it wasn't quite that simple, because Britain was able to mobilise quite a lot of the empire to fight against the Axis nations. You know, so the Indian military were used, as were West Indian.
I just like to not challenge but raise the presumption in this question, which is that the United States is in fact an empire, and I think that while that is not an inaccurate description, I think it is an empire in a slightly different sense than the way the word has been used up until this century, probably, in that it is a financial empire. It is an empire of economic exchange and manipulation rather than a physical or governmental one.
All empires are. They just need to be enforced militarily, and it's only latterly that the American empire has felt the need.
I was about to say we don't take over governments and appoint them, but in fact we do.
This is the first time that the United States has felt the need to enforce that imperial droit de seigneur personally. They've managed to do so by proxy on a number of occasions.
So I think we concur that it is empire in one manner, shape, or form, and that it's not that different.
You've got to be a complete lunatic, I think, to deny there is an empire.
I don't disagree with your description of Britain and how it might be a role model for the United States to gracefully decline. I think the reality is that the difference between the United States today and Britain at the time of World War II are dramatic enough to say that Americans are going to continue to exist in a level of denial about their place in the world and the slippage that's occurring long enough to make that cliff much more precipitous when they meet it.
So instead
of sort of riding the slide down, I think Americans are more likely to continue out like Roadrunner.
And carry on fighting.
Sort of carry out over the cliff and then realize there's nothing beneath them and then go straight down.
So what you're saying is that
I think it's possible for violent revolution.
What you're saying is that the way that the U.S. empire declines, whether peacefully or violently, is completely and utterly dependent upon the internal conditions.
The perception of the American public of their own status. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like, you know, the Roadrunner thing, right? Where he goes
Yeah.
out over the cliff and he keeps going.
Yeah.
It's Roadrunner or Coyote?
It's Roadrunner.
Right. No, it's Coyote.
Oh, it's Coyote.
Roadrunner always has gone around the edge, right?
Yeah.
It's Coyote, sorry, who goes out there and then he realizes that
Yeah.
there's nothing but Wile E. Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote. Roadrunner's got good brakes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's it.